I've got so much going on right now, I don't even know what's happening. Let me start with the Corvette. So I found out that the Corvette has odometer fraud. When I bought the Corvette, I was deployed, so I was buying it all over the phone and over email and text message. And looking back on it now, I can see how big of a mistake that was, because the dealership that I bought that Corvette from just took complete advantage of the fact that I wasn't around to actually talk about things and work them out. So when I was buying it, I looked at the Carfax and it said potential odometer fraud. It just said potential. It didn't say that there was odometer fraud or anything like that. So of course I asked the dealership about it, and they're like, oh, we're already in the process of fixing that. They're like, when we got it from auction, we just hit a 4 instead of a 6 or vice versa, something like that. And the mileage, it made sense what he was saying. So I wasn't too worried about it. And I explained that to the bank. And that's why the bank even gave me a loan for the car in the first place. But I go to trade the Corvette in, and the dealership we were trading it into, they pulled up the Carfax, and it turns out that that mistake was never being fixed because it actually had odometer fraud. And the thing that sucks, it was only a 20,000 mile difference. There's tracking for all the mileage on that car because the car was brought in for service. So whoever did the odometer fraud only took 20,000 miles off the car. It wasn't a huge jump. I don't even see the benefit of doing that. How much more could you have sold the car for just because it had 20 less thousand miles on it? So right now, the Corvette, the mileage reads 54,000 on the dash, but it really has about 74,000 miles on it. So this dealership that I was trying to trade the Vette to is also where I bought my truck brand new back in 2020. And I paid that truck off really quick. So because of the odometer fraud, they were still willing to take the Vette, but they said they could only give me 20,000 for it. Which now the truck has about 62,000 miles on it, so it's gonna start coming up with maintenance things like brakes and tires and all that. So I figured that I was gonna trade both vehicles in and basically just start over with a brand new car again. So at this point, they kind of made me want to get rid of the Vette, because odometer fraud to me, I mean, that's kind of like having a fake video game. All my games are authentic. I don't do fake. And the dash saying 54,000 miles when it really has 74,000 miles, that's fake to me. And I can't stand that. So now I want to get rid of the Vette. So even though I'm taking a hit on it, you know, I just won't make that mistake again. And luckily I have the truck, and that's going to cover all the negative equity on the Corvette. So they offer me 20 for the Vette, and then they offer me 22 for my truck, which was a pretty low ball thing to do because the truck is worth 30,000 on trade-in. Like I did the whole Kelly Blue Book thing before I even went there. So I was like, I don't think so. We ended up, me and the wife talked about it, and we're like, yeah, we're not gonna do it. And they ended up coming up like $8,000 on the truck, trying to get us to stay and force us into this Ford Explorer that we didn't even want. It was a 4-cylinder, didn't even have a tow package. I have to be able to tow. Like, that's why I have the truck. But they were trying to force us into this vehicle we didn't even want. So by the time we were walking out of that place, we were at 50,000 for both vehicles on trade-in. And then he went over and he made this printout of what our new car loan would look like. And I took the paper and I told him I'd go home and think about it. And I didn't look at it until the next day. The next day, the dealership calls me back and they say, hey, we had a meeting this morning. We're gonna come up another $8,000 on our offer for your vehicles. And he says, we're willing to come up to $20,000 for your Vette. I'm like, come on. You said you're gonna give me another $8,000. He's like, yeah, we're gonna give you 20 for your Vette. I was like, you were gonna give me 20 for my Vette last night. And I walked away. What are you talking about? He's like, no, we were gonna give you $12,500 for your vet. I was like, $12,500? I'll buy two. Odometer fraud or not. Where are you gonna get a C7 Corvette, even with 70,000 miles, for $12,500? And now I'm looking at this paper they gave me. They were talking 50 grand for trade-in. And then when I look at it, they were only giving us 35 for both vehicles. On top of that, that Explorer that we didn't even want was $41,000 when they showed it to us. And all of a sudden, the price magically jumped up to $45,700. So I'm on the phone with the guy looking at this paper. I'm like, man, this paper doesn't match anything of what we were talking last night. I was like, number one, you offered us $50,000 for the truck and the Corvette. And this says you're only giving us $35,000, and you have me upside down $8,000 on the trade-in. Like, the truck is more than enough to cover any mistake I made with the Corvette. On top of that, the Explorer we were looking at was $41,000, and this says $45,700. And he's like, oh man, we have 10 Explorers out there. We probably just grabbed the price off the wrong one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was born yesterday too. Do you know I just sold over 600 Super Nintendo games and I didn't mail one to the wrong person? But you can't get 10 Ford Explorers right? Gave me the price of another Ford Explorer. So long story short, I'm not ever doing business with that car dealership again. And in fact, I used to take the truck there all the time for oil changes. I ain't even taking the truck there for oil changes. And as I sat there and explained all this to the guy, you could tell he's like, oh man, we're busted. We're so sorry for trying to screw you over. We didn't know that you were gonna catch us. If you're gonna screw somebody over that bad, don't give them a paper as proof. $12,500, does that even buy a beater in 2024? Like seriously, what's happening? So somebody asked me if I'm gonna do a price counter for the NES Quest, and I'm not. I'll explain like some prices and stuff of games I've bought, but it just, in the end, it doesn't make any sense. When I finished the N64 Complete in Box Quest, I finished the whole quest at like $13,000. And then all of a sudden, you know, not much longer later, that's when COVID hit, and you know, just two of those games cost what the entire collection cost to put together. So the entire quest was null and void pretty much with the price counter. It didn't make any sense to anybody that was collecting a year later. But it is cool knowing some of the recent prices and all that stuff, so I'll throw that in there. But having a price counter for the whole quest doesn't make a lot of sense because, you know, there's condition factors. A game in great condition can sell for $1,000, but poor condition sell for $300. And then all the inserts and everything. And then it seems like people are just bidding whatever they want to. Like some of the prices don't even make sense. I just got a really nice Bubble Bobble 2, complete in box, with all the inserts. And 4 hours prior to mine ending on auction, there was another one on auction. And all it had was a manual. The box was faded, the manual was all taped up, and it wasn't in great shape whatsoever. And that went for $800 some before I got mine. So I didn't think I was gonna get mine because I wasn't trying to buy that game at the time. I was like, I'll get it if I can get a good deal. And the other one wasn't in nice enough condition for me to want to buy it. But it went for $800 some. And I'm like, okay, you know what? On this one, I'll bid $100 more because it's like way better, but I'm not gonna win it. So I bid $950, I think, on this Bubble Bobble 2. That was in like amazing shape, way better than the one that had ended 4 hours prior. And I ended up getting it for $760. Less than the one in poor condition. So it doesn't even make any sense. But like I said, I will mention some of the prices as we go through the quest, because it is kind of fun to go back and look at some of the prices that I paid for it, or what the market was like, you know, a couple years ago. That kind of stuff is cool. So I will mention stuff like that throughout the quest. So here's another thing that's making my head spin. I'm in almost 19 and a half years. I'm getting ready to retire from the Air Force. So I start looking at all our upcoming expenses. First of all, the IRS, they still haven't made a final decision. I still gotta pay them back something. It's not the original $19,000 it was, thankfully, but you know that's gonna come up some amount that I'm gonna have to owe them because I didn't have receipts for every little single thing I bought. I have to find a new job. I haven't been to an interview in over 20 years. I gotta find a house. I've got to move out of this house, which there's going to be charges with that because we have 2 dogs. I've got one dog, whenever he sees a squirrel or rabbit outside, he goes charging towards the windows, busts open the blinds, and like all the blinds are broken. And I have no idea how much they're going to charge us to move out of the house when all's said and done. So now I start thinking, I need to get ahead of this. Now, I've got to spread all this out. I don't want all this stuff coming and hitting me at once. So out of nowhere, I decide we need to move out of this house now. By moving out of the house now, I'll just be able to pick up and leave when I'm finished with the military. So basically, I'm looking at it like a deployment. I'm gonna move in with a roommate, and my wife and kids are gonna go live with her parents. And then my last couple months in the military, I'll have time to look for a job and a new place to live. So 3 days ago, I didn't think I was leaving this house until 2025. And now I have to be out of the house by the end of August. So it's just so much, like, what's happening? So I'll still be trying to make videos and everything, but I don't know how it's all gonna work over the next year with everything going on. I obviously won't have a whole game room set up. I won't even have a place to live pretty soon. But anyways, today we have 2 more games that we'll be adding to the collection. Let's check them out. And the first game up is Metal Storm. Metal Storm was released in 1991 by IRIM. Just popping Metal Storm in, you'll jump straight into the action. There is no cutscene or story to let you know what's happening. However, the manual gives you the story. That's not an uncommon thing to do, but it's always nice when games have a story at the beginning of the game. Metal Storm released in Japan a year after the US version, which is weird because usually Japan would get the releases first. And when Metal Storm released in Japan, the game included a story. But what if I told you there is a story in the US version? That's right, the programming for the story is actually in the game, but it's unfinished and you have to use the Game Genie to see it. A laser that was designed to protect the Earth has malfunctioned and jammed. It's now aimed at the Earth after destroying Neptune, and it's your job to pilot the advanced M308 gunner to stop it. This is a really fun platform game with 7 stages, including a boss rush stage at the end of the game. It has a unique mechanic in the game where you can change gravity throughout the levels. It's something you have to master if you're going to beat the game. Out of all 677 licensed NES games, Metal Storm is in my top 10 favorite. If you're a fan of platform games and haven't played Metal Storm, you're missing out. And Metal Storm is game number 7 for the NES Complete in Box Quest. So the reason I got Metal Storm knocked out so early is because normally a Complete in Box copy with the manual, the cart, and the box would be about $350 to $450, depending on condition. But if you get the other inserts like the poster and the reg card and everything like that, then you're looking at closer to $1,000, especially if it's in good condition. Well, somebody had listed this one on eBay for $450 or best offer, and it had the poster. So I didn't even send them an offer, I just straight bought it. And Now I got a really nice condition Metal Storm, but I do have to find the registration card, which shouldn't be too hard for this game. And the next game up is Bubble Bobble 2. Bubble Bobble 2 was another one of those late Taito releases that came to the NES in 1993. You play the game as a bubble blowing dinosaur. You trap enemies in bubbles and take them out. Use B to blow bubbles. Holding B longer will allow you to blow multiple bubbles, and holding it down without releasing it will allow you to fly. Another cool thing you can do is jump on the bubbles to reach higher areas. Once you take out all the enemies on the screen, you move to the next level. The NES also has the original Bubble Bobble game, and it has a series called Rainbow Islands. Bubble Bobble 2 is a fun game worth playing, but the other two games are far more cheaper and easier to find. So if you just wanted to play a game in the series, look for those two. And Bubble Bobble 2 is game number 8 for the NES Complete in Box Quest 2.0. I also forgot to mention, with this one, there was another copy that just ended yesterday or today. And it only had the manual, didn't have all the inserts like this one, and it went for $1,000. And this was a better copy than that. So for me to win this one for $760 was a pretty amazing deal. But anyways, let's get these games on the shelf. Yeah, like I said, what's happening? None of this feels real, but I'm moving, so I'm currently making this video while also tearing down my game room. But if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe, and I'll be bringing you more videos like this. Until next time, I'm Gamer Wayne, and thanks for watching.